morning. Good morning. We have people we are letting into our space right now. And so delighted to see all of you here this morning. Thank you for joining us for our weekly SonRise Project call and group. As always, I'm so happy and honored to have all of you here with us in this safe space that's filled with love and compassion and our mutual desire to heal, starting with ourselves and our families. God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. Oh, that's important this morning for me. Before I introduce our guest this week, I am so honored to note that today is our 250th call. We have been coming together every week for 250 weeks, which is really incredible. It feels like it was just yesterday that we started and we pulled together a group to talk and to share and to have a safe space to cry and love on each other and learn and hear from experts, like we're going to hear from Cherise in a moment. But I want to express my very deep gratitude for all of you for being here and for being on this journey with me and with all of us together. And so it has been certainly a journey for myself and complete transformation over these past 5 years. And I still am on a journey. As I look forward and anticipate the joy of Kyle coming home tomorrow. 5 years ago was not so joyful, but I'm looking forward to seeing him tomorrow in a very different space, very much thanks to the SonRise Project and all of the work that's been done here in this space with so many generous people who have volunteered their time. So I just wanted to say thank you for that. And I'm going to now introduce our guest. So our guest today, let me let a few people in. Our guest today is Cherise Mattheson. She is an accomplished author, media personality, and licensed master's level social work professional with a passion for mental health, wellness, and self-care. Her specialties are trauma-informed care and cognitive behavioral therapy. She earned her master's of social work degree from the University of Michigan and her bachelor's in social work from Frostburg State University. And she recently completed graduate certification in nonprofit and human services leadership at Howard University, which is my alma mater, as you all know. And she's also a proud member of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated, also one of my passions. And she's a boy mom with a 17-year-old son who is a senior graduating in 2025. On top of all that, she is the CEO of CEM Wellness LLC, which is a training, coaching, and consultancy company focused on mental health and emotional wellness. Her inspirational books, there which are two, are called The Dream Vision Reality Guide and Sand, Sun, and Self-Care, which makes me smile just reading the title, Sand, Sun, and Self-Care. And those two books encourage readers to prioritize their wellness while living their best lives. Her voice and inspiration can be heard daily, Monday through Friday at 3:30 p.m. as the host of the District Creatives radio show on DC Radio 96.3 and dcradio.gov. So I'm so excited to have you here with us today, Cherise. Thank you and welcome.
Thank
Welcome,
you.
welcome.
I appreciate you for having me this morning.
We're thrilled that you're here, and we know that it is a busy, busy, busy time of year. There are people, some people still going to church this morning. Some people are out trying to get their last minute shopping together, or in my case, starting at some point
Right.
later today. And it's a lot. So Dr. Vicky wrote something that I think is really special, where she said, self-love is self-care, and self-care is self-love. And so that's our topic this morning, and really want to explore that. And first, have you share a little bit about yourself beyond your incredible resume. Like, where are you from? Who are you? And how did you get into this space and start taking care of yourself in
Yes.
this way?
Thank you so much, and good morning to everyone who's gathered here today. I'm always excited to talk about self-care and self-love. And it's definitely been a journey for me in terms of evolving to even understand why it is so important. And so where I'm from, I was born in London, England, to
Mm.
Caribbean parents from St. Lucia and Jamaica who migrated to England, which is where I was born. And then we moved to America when I was 4. So that is why I'm without a British accent. But if I would have had my mother join us today, she would be able to certify my British lineage.
That was my first question. Like, what? Because you said you're born in London. Okay, cool.
And the thing about it as a young child, like one of the most dangerous places is recess when you're 5 years old. And at recess, a lot of people would kind of point out that I spoke differently. So I quickly tried to assimilate um, to American culture, which is why I threw my accent out the window. But I still drink tea every morning. And so I'm absolutely a British girl. And so my journey into self-care really began through my professional career. So my background is in social work. As you mentioned, I went to University of Michigan. I got my master's in social work, and I immediately started working in government. And what the intro to my book, I have the book that is your favorite, Sansa Self-Care, here with me. And in this intro, I talk about how as a social worker, I did a lot of home visits, a lot of hospital visits, a lot of community-based social work. And so one of my responsibilities was to be in hospitals, taking children to visits and things like that. And there was a time where I was not taking care of myself and I didn't realize the impacts, especially because at that time I was in my 20s, a young mom with a lot of career goals and aspirations. And ultimately, I was running myself into the ground. I would go to sleep at 1, 2 o'clock in the morning with my laptop in the bed with me. I would hop up at 6:30 to get my son ready for school. I would try to take a nap and feel bad because the laundry wasn't done. So I would get up from my nap to fold clothes or to wash dishes. And I was home one day and I started to get like these goosebumps all over me. I didn't really know what was happening. So I called my mom and I'm like, something's going on. Can you come over? She took me to the emergency room and they started to run a bunch of tests, hooked me up to an IV, which I had never had that experience before. And ultimately, I found out the issue was that I was exhausted. And so
And
I,
how old were you, Cherise? I'm sorry to cut you off. When was this?
I was 27.
Got you.
I was 27 and I remember laying there and like hearing the beep. It was like beep, beep, beep. And it was like something about that beep being connected to me. Um, I was just like, never again. Like, this is never going to be my experience again. And it was from that point that I started to make changes in my habits and my practice, and even giving myself permission to take care of myself as a mom, as a parent. I know this is a group of parents. I never really allowed myself permission to rest because I felt that I was not being a good mom, if I'm being honest. If the clothes weren't washed and the dishes weren't done. And so that was really the start of my journey. And then I was able to make shifts in my professional life because I started to realize the impact that my profession was having on my wellness.
Someone just saying, yes, that mom guilt is so real. It really is.
I mean, I still remember napping and dreaming about baskets of clothes. Like the sleep wasn't even purposeful because I wasn't resting. Like my mind was still in overdrive about
Right.
like Tide Pods and matching up socks.
Right. Exactly. I always say I think my last nap was when I was 4 or something because, it's hard to, when you have so many things to do, it's hard to really say, no, I need a moment for myself, or I need to rest, or I need to sleep. It's really hard. Like you said, your brain doesn't turn off, it just doesn't turn off. So when you were in the hospital and you realized you were exhausted, do you think it was burnout? Really? Like was it?
Yeah, it was absolutely burnout. Like exhaustion was the medical term that, and I was like, exhausted, me? I'm young and full of vitality. Like, what do you mean exhausted? And I had heard, people say that, and if I'm being completely honest, I thought that was like a Hollywood thing for stars. They like go to the hospital and they're like, oh, they have exhaustion. I just didn't realize the realness of that. And what I understood later on, that it wasn't only a physical exhaustion, it was an emotional exhaustion. Because what I didn't mention was at about 18 months, me and my son's father broke up. And so that left me in the house with my son as a single mom, which is something I did not anticipate. So now I have this financial weight on my shoulder. I'm still trying to climb the professional ladder. I'm trying to be a good mom for my son and show up for all of my other commitments. And it was really the emotional exhaustion that was contributing to the physical exhaustion. And they definitely were going hand in hand. And I didn't really understand that because I was just running and thinking that, I could go to sleep at 1 o'clock in the morning and then wake up at 6, especially if I was achieving and I was accomplishing. And I think those achievements and accomplishments gave me um, a false sense of feeling that I was on the right track, because while I was achieving and doing these things, I was falling apart on the inside, and then it manifested into physical. And I'm someone who's always gone to the gym, always worked out, like always taking care of myself. So that was pretty alarming, and it shifted me into a new way of living my life for myself and for my son.
And this new way is really all about self-care, which is what we're talking about, right? So
Yes.
can you talk about that? Like, what does it mean to you? What does self-care mean to you personally? And then how does it show up in your life?
Well, I can't help but reference my parenting because that was such a big thing. And I felt like, and I'm sure I've heard this other moms, like, my kids come first. My kids are my everything. And I take a back seat to my child or my children. And I had to really reverse that philosophy and understand that actually I come first and then everyone else comes behind me. And that was a major shift, particularly, I'm trying to have certain conversations with my mom who didn't understand that, because I watched her sacrifice so much of herself and she watched her mom do the same thing. So I also had to realize that I was breaking up a generational pattern.
Mhm.
And that was a big thing. And so it was not popular to say, no, actually my kids don't come in front of me. My kids are actually behind me. My son is second to me. I'm actually first. And so it was just saying that, like
Wow.
saying it and letting it resonate, and then having my actions to match up with that. Um, and so the first thing I really did was just kind of had to sit in the reality of what I had created, and the patterns that I had been doing, thinking that I was like, I really thought I was killing it. I'm making strides.
Mhm.
And at this time I was doing some work with Radio One. So I'm like interviewing Mary J. Blige, like people are seeing me in
Mhm.
all these like spaces and places. And again, I started to feel like this is not enough. Like what happens when the picture is not on the timeline anymore, and the comments are gone, or nobody's there to
Mhm.
like what you do and validate, right? And so I had to really lean into myself. That was step number one. The second thing I did, which was it was accidental but on purpose. I was planning to go on a trip to Jamaica with a girlfriend, and she backed out of the trip a few weeks before we were set to go. And I was really looking forward to this moment of just relaxation. It was really my first time being able to vacation since my son had been born. At this time, he was maybe around 6. And so I was overdue for just a moment of Sam, son, and self-care. This was before the book was born. And she backed out of the trip. And so I'm like, what do I do? Do I not go now because my friend is no longer going? And so it took a lot of courage for me to just say, you know what, I'm just going to go on a trip by myself.
Was
And
that
so
your first time doing that?
my first solo trip was international. I did feel good knowing that I was actually returning to a home, if you will, because my grandparents and many of my family members were born and still live in various parts of Jamaica. While I didn't get to connect with anyone during that trip, I feel like just being in the sand, as soon as I got there, I felt like it was a homecoming. And it was a great place for me to be by myself. And so that trip, again, I think by this time I was 30 or maybe 29, so just getting into turning 30. And I found myself on that trip.
Wow.
I found myself on that trip. And I know a lot of people solo travel in this era. I would say during that time with my peer group, self and solo travel was not a thing that people were doing at the rate they are now. And so I remember being on the beach and a local walked past me and he just said two words. He said, "Welcome home." And he just walked off.
Oh,
And I felt
that
like,
just gave
oh,
me chills. It gave
yeah,
me
it was
chills.
a welcome home to the environment, but it was a welcome home to myself. Um, and I
Mhm.
had a phenomenal time and I came back invigorated to take care of myself, like unapologetically, no matter what, no matter who was there, no matter who was away, if somebody canceled on me, it didn't matter. Like I was going to make taking care of myself a priority, and that's
Mhm.
just what it was. And so that was really the start of it. And I journaled on that trip a lot.
Mhm.
And when I came home, I wrote my first book, which was the Dream Vision Reality Guide, which was a journal for manifesting your dreams from vision to reality.
I love that. So that first book was right after this life-changing trip home.
Funny enough, the cover of that book is on the beach in Jamaica.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
And they're both on Amazon. I'm gonna pull the links and put them in the chat. So people would love for people to support and purchase this book from Cherise Mattheson. Both books, they're both on Amazon.
Yes, and Dr. Vicky, I want to give a shout out to Dr. Vicky. I love Dr.
Yeah.
so much. And Dr. Vicky's like, you need to update your bio and you need to tell them about all of your books. So I actually have 3 additional books that I've written outside of the 2 that are in my bio. 2 are adult coloring books. One is called Self-Care and Flowers. The other is called Cozy
Mm.
Self-Care. And then last month, right after the election, I published a book which is called Soft Life.
Yes, yes for soft life. You say that 10 more times.
Yes. So yes, journaling is a big, big part of my self-care practice. And so that's what prompted me to write the books, include journaling sections within each of the books. Um,
Amazing. So I see Sand, Sun, and Self-Care, 50 Tips for Taking Care of You. And I'm going to also put these other books in the chat. This is amazing.
I appreciate it.
Congrats on all of that. How are you taking care of you during the holidays with your 17-year-old? What do you do?
Well, it's very interesting. So I'm a member of Union Temple Baptist Church, and we this year launched a mental health and emotional wellness ministry where I serve as the director of the ministry. And so unbeknownst to any of us at the start of the year, we suffered a great deal of loss at our church this year, like church members, family members. We've been in fellowship with each other for over 20 years. So some of the losses were very devastating. One was recent. And
Mm.
so people were pulling on me as the lead of the ministry and to support them through their grief and loss. And I'm like, wait, how do I support you through your grief and loss when I'm grieving at the same time? And the first thing I had to do was say that, right? Because I think sometimes when you're in leadership and you're the person that everyone is looking to, there's this expectation that you don't get an opportunity to feel or experience or walk through
Mhm,
what you're walking
mhm,
your participants or cohort
mhm.
members, whatever, whoever you're leading, what you're walking them through. So I had to be very vulnerable. I think vulnerability has become one of my superpowers in saying that I'm going through this too. I'm
Yeah.
going through this too. And during the holiday season, I have a list of things that I do because I actually have had experiences with seasonal affective disorder, which, if you aren't aware, is a condition, a form of depression that people experience during the holiday season, also during the time of daylight savings time, when it gets dark. So because I know that, I put things in place to support myself through this season. This is actually not my favorite time of year. Um,
Mm,
but I acknowledge that. And again, I put things in place. And so I'll share a few of them.
mhm.
One of the things is I do not like being cold. I don't like being cold.
Agree.
I don't like it. So I have a best friend with me during the season, and my best friend is my space heater. But I keep my space heater close to me, not only to warm me up, but the heat reminds me of the sun. It's like as close as I can get in my space. Like I'm in my office right now. I'm nowhere near Jamaica or St. Lucia, but the heat on my feet just gives me a little bit closer to know that the temperature will change soon. And so again, that's a
Oh,
small thing,
right.
a small thing, right? Because it's remembering the small things. Sometimes it's just not big and lavish. It's just like very small things.
A space heater that reminds you of the sun. I love that. Dee Staff, who's on the phone right now, she's at swim practice with her son, ironically, but she travels with an electric blanket everywhere. And the
Yeah,
blanket is like an entire piece of luggage, but it's to your point. She's like, I like to be warm and it gives me comfort. So why not? I
yeah,
think that's incredible.
yes. I love that. I
It's
love
so
that.
good. I'm
Yeah.
putting the Amazon links, and someone just said, wait, someone said in the chat, who heals the healer?
Who
Heals
heals
the
the
healer.
healer? Who heals the healer? So yeah, that's another way to answer the question. Is Lynn Richardson here? Oh my God.
Yes.
Hi, Soror. What a reunion.
Hey,
Um,
Sore.
Hi. So yes, the space heater is a one small thing. Another thing that I do, because again, it's easy to do this in the holiday season if you're like reminded of a time when your family was together. There's a lot of contention happening in my family right now with my mom,
Hmm.
her siblings, which has chose like you kind of have to decide where you're going on Christmas, or people even having things. And it's just like it just gets to be too much sometimes. And
Yeah.
so um communicating when I need to pull back, but not staying back, right? And so this dance between like pulling back and leaning in, pulling back and leaning in,
Mm-hmm.
because there is an expectation. I did sign up to be, I don't know if I signed up to be a leader, but here I am as the leader
Uh-huh.
in an official capacity that I have committed to. So there is a show up that's required from me. And I think when I communicate, I show up authentically, I'm vulnerable. People see that we're all walking through this together.
Hmm.
And my pastor is a great example of that. And another thing is calling in reinforcements when I don't have it. Sometimes I don't
Hmm.
have it and I have to call in reinforcements.
Yes. It's
And
like phone a friend. Phone a
it
friend.
and the thing that keeps me mindful is the beat that I reminded you of, like that beat, and knowing that beat was connected to my heart, my
Yeah.
blood pressure, my vitals. And I want to be able to utilize my heartbeat as the beat, not equipment in a hospital. And so I
Uh,
get to regulate that myself. And it's just, again, this dance of pulling back and leaning forward.
I love that because what you said earlier also really resonated with me. Before we got on the call, you said, this is my last commitment of the year, and I'm closing this computer and I'm done. And I said, until when? You said January 6th. That is incredible because you said, I need time. I need time for me. And so, as much as you've leaned in all year and helping so many people, you said, okay, I need to lean back and focus on me and quiet time. And I think that's powerful. It's like the seesaw, and there's a seesaw of life and self-care. It's like you can be up and then you need to take a minute and go down and rest and then go back up. I think that's what I'm hearing you saying.
Absolutely. And when you are used to kind of riding these highs of life, it
Mhm.
feels well, for me, it felt different to be in the lows, and it's like you get to experience both,
Mhm.
and it's okay if you're in the low season, because you're going to get back up. And one thing that I had to remember in some of my down moments, my spirituality and my faith is like one of the foundations of how I am able to continue. And I realized that what God has created for me is a um instead of a blacktop, I'm on a trampoline. So when I fall down, I don't get bruised, I don't break anything, I don't get hurt. I actually bounce right back up and
Love
even
that.
higher. So if I give myself the opportunity to fall, it's a springboard for my elevation up higher. And I'm not going to get bruised or scratched up. And I love that, because I don't want to get bruised and scratched up.
I love that. So you're jumping on the trampoline, not the pavement.
Yep. And I thank God for that.
That is amazing. I love that. And I can see that. I see that. I see that with you and your spirit and how you show up in the world for yourself and for so many others. It's amazing. People are saying, I'm not going to get bruised. There's people clapping. Beautiful analogy. I love when you said, make my heart beat the beep from your story about being in the hospital. Instead of being on the machine beeping, your heartbeat is
Yeah.
your beeping.
It's connecting, honestly. Like there's been a lot of conversation about regulating our nervous systems. And I think we just didn't have the language before to know what we're experiencing. But we know when we're dysregulated. And sometimes it's just taking a moment to just like put my hand on my heart and feel like, oh no, this is not my regular beat. Like
Mm,
I gotta slow this down. And so what does that look like? Like taking some things off,
mhm.
saying like I actually can't go. I did that very recently. I did something that I'm still in shock that I did, but I was invited to attend the HBCU honors, which was being filmed. It was like BET, red carpet, all the things that you could think of when you hear
Yeah.
honors, HBCU and BET. And so it was also a kind of thing where people were like looking for tickets, like you got a ticket, you got a ticket, you got a ticket. And I was able to go. And on the day I was exhausted. And I ended up letting the PR person know who invited me that I wasn't able to attend the BET honors. And I did not attend. I slept.
Good for you. And there
And
will always be another show, always be another event, always be another honors, always.
that was I
Hmm.
was so proud of myself, but I was also like, girl, are you really typing this email and saying you're not gonna come to the, but I didn't come. And I think that's just a testament to, because I'm still in this, right? Like I'm talking about it, I'm writing about it, but I'm navigating it in real time. And so I never like to present myself as that I've mastered this, because it's an ongoing journey. And I really like
Hmm.
to share with people that I'm still figuring this thing out and making decisions every day to honor myself. So while the HBCUs were being honored, I was in the bed honoring myself.
It's a journey. Tracy says, know thyself first and choose you, right? You're choosing you. That's
Yeah.
fantastic. I remember reading in Susan Taylor's book many, 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 many years ago, this notion of giving yourself to yourself before you give yourself away. And I remember meeting her at it was In the Spirit, I think was the book. And this was 1996. I remember it so vividly because I quit my job at P&G the next day when she said that quote. And sometimes those are those things where they really move you. And when you're giving yourself to everybody else and there's nothing left, there's nothing left. So sometimes you have to just take a moment. I love that. So for the holidays, do you do things for self-care during the
So
holidays? Because you said it was a tough time of the year for you.
I do. It brings up it just reminds me of the state and the status of my family, the family I created and the family I was born into. And so
Mhm.
I'm constantly having to make choices on how I want to feel, and what I want to experience in the holiday season. I used to be so I remember times like crying when my son was 3 and 4 and he would be with his dad on the holidays. And
Mm,
it was just such a hole and like such a void to know like he's going to be running downstairs over
mm,
his dad's house. Especially
mm.
if it was like a season where his dad was dating someone, and it was just a whole bunch of just like mental confusion with like fa la 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 as the soundtrack.
Wow.
And so it's taken a lot for me to not even try to plan what it looks and feels like. Like I'm a planner, and so I do like to have a plan, but I have leaned into just going with the flow of the season. And so I don't know if I'm gonna be sad on Christmas. I might just be. And that's okay. Like I might wake up on Christmas morning and I might feel sad. And that's going to
Yeah.
be okay. But what I find joy in is what I do have. My mom is present. I don't
Yeah.
have a relationship with my father, but I can drive down the street to my mom's house and we can have tea, we can drink eggnog, and we can have a good time, right? So I am looking forward to doing that. Another thing I do is I'm so grateful that I have a sister circle and a friend circle, and they look out. And so a few Thanksgivings ago, I was with my girlfriend's family for Thanksgiving. And it was a beautiful time, right?
Yeah.
It's family. It may not be my blood family, but if my desire is to be with family on Thanksgiving, I was with family on Thanksgiving.
That's nice.
And
Yeah.
so, yeah, those are some of the things during the holiday season. And this particular holiday season, I want to really just reflect. I think when you are a high performer and an achiever, you lose sight of, again, talking with Dr. Vicky. She's like, didn't you complete a program at Howard this year? I'm like, oh, yeah, I guess
Mhm.
I did do that. It's like when you're moving so fast that you don't even really get to sit in the things that you've done well. And so, really, my goal for the holiday season is to
Yeah.
sit and be slow in a slow flow, so I can really experience the contributions that I've made this year to myself and
Yeah.
to the community.
I so love that. Have a, this Christmas, um, similarly, I'm choosing very different choices than I've ever done in the past. I'm I normally am in Cleveland with my family. I'm staying in Maryland. It's my first Christmas divorced. It's really peaceful. And I'm choosing to be here quietly.
Mhm.
And what you just said, the word reflect, really reflect on all the amazing things that have happened and things that are about to happen. That reflection, and then ultimately choosing to have quiet and peace is really powerful. So I love that you said reflect because it's an opportunity to reset. It's an opportunity to recreate, recreating new traditions. I have a tree, my very first artificial tree ever in my life. And yesterday it was in this little skinny box. I was like, how is that going to happen? But also what you said, ask for help. So a friend came over while I was running errands and put the tree up and did all the things. And she's like an angel. But recreating a possibility, even with something as simple as an artificial tree, I think is a way of self-care and self-love. And it's a new thing. It's a different thing, but the recreation and reflecting and resetting and then ultimately rejuvenating. So like you, I'm going to have a goal of keeping my computer closed as much as possible to the 6, although I don't know that that's possible. But I love that you said this is my last commitment and I'm going to reset and reflect and be quiet.
I have a sign. This just popped out at me. It was sitting right here. I hope you can see it. This is one of my coloring pages. It says
Oh my goodness.
retreat, relax, reset. That's the answer to the question. And I'm gonna color this page too. So
Yes, please. Oh my
retreat,
goodness.
relax, and reset
Yeah,
is what I will be doing for the rest of the holiday season and into the new year.
that's it. I'm going to do the same thing. Put in all caps. Retreat. That's the best thing. That's the best thing. I love that. I want to make sure we open up the line for people who might have a question or a comment. So if you're calling in on your phone, you can hit *6 to come off of mute or just pop on the Zoom if you'd like to chat with Cherise. I love everything you've shared this morning. It's super inspirational. And
Thank
your
you.
coloring books are phenomenal too. Which book is that one in?
It's called, it's its own book. It's on Amazon as well. It's called Self-Care and Flowers. And
Yes.
those books are, I just started the adult coloring books a year ago. And that really came from, again, just being stressed and anxious and connected digitally. You got computer, iPad, cell phone, Apple Watch, notifications, Gmail. It just was like, I need a pen and a pencil. And
Yes.
I started coloring and it provided me so much peace, and I would just lose myself for hours. And I know adult coloring isn't a new concept. If I'm being completely honest, when it came out, I thought it was a little childish. I'm like, coloring? I'm not coloring. And once I got into it and I started to feel the benefits, and then I did some research and I learned about some of the benefits and how it helps us to maintain our fine motor skills and how it helps us to be meditative. How also just having a creative outlet, like how important that is for us as adults, because we lose that with all the
Mhm.
responsibility and the things that we did. So I actually started hosting these events called Color Me Calm, where we
Oh, I
come
love that.
together. We have like a nice, I love 90s R&B. So we listen to music, color, and just relax. And it's been really great and therapeutic and helped me to continue to build community for women in particular. But the last event I had, a guy came to the event. It was on a Sunday, and he had his phone like propped up with the game on it. So he had the game right here, and then he was coloring on the other side. And I just thought that was so cute and fun.
That's awesome. You do those virtually? The
I
Color
have
Me
not done
Calm?
a virtual one before. So it's something that I would definitely consider
Yeah,
in the new year. The three or four, the four of them that I've done so far have been in person.
in person. And you're in, where are you? In the
In
Maryland,
DC.
DC area. Okay.
Yeah, one of my girlfriends is a florist. She has an amazing flower shop called Flowers by Alexis. And because the book is the pictures in the background are floral, I partnered with her for the event, and everyone got like a mini bouquet in
Mhm.
addition to the coloring book.
That's nice. I am planning a retreat and I'd love to support and will buy them for the group. The coloring book. That's amazing. And so more to come on that. We can talk about that separately. Does anyone have a question or thought for Cherise this morning? I put the links to her books, two of her books. I'm going to do the other ones in the chat. Yes, I see one person has their hand up. Please feel free.
Hey y'all. I just want to say good morning to everyone
Mhm.
and Philip here. Uh, Kelly, thank you for this community. This is my first time joining, even though I've been getting the emails for a while. And Cherise, thank you for just everything you're doing. I just want to express so much gratitude for this conversation, for this community this morning, and everything you've shared. I'm taking notes. I'm making breakfast, but I'm taking notes. And I'm looking forward to sharing more of this. I invited my sister, but she had church. But I was like, okay, I'm gonna take some notes and share some takeaways with her. So just an abundance of gratitude for what you all are doing right now and what we're sharing in this moment.
Thank you so much, Philip. Thank you for being here. Really appreciate it. I appreciate the feedback. Thank you. And I see Dr. Lynn with your hand up.
Good morning, Kelly.
Good
Good morning, Cherise. Oh my God. I'm so
morning.
glad God woke me up this morning. I'm on the West Coast and I decided to just say, let me go and join the call. I've never been on a sunrise call, although I love Kelly and she is my sister from another mother.
Yeah.
I'm so thankful that I got up this morning. What you said about so many things was so much validation. I left Chicago in 2014, as you may know. I literally came home from a business trip and it was so cold. And I told my husband I was going to die if I stayed in Chicago. I could not stay anymore. And I packed up and left and moved to California less than a month later. And then my family followed me here a year later after my youngest daughter graduated from elementary school. And thank you for validating. There's something for some of us about the cold, but
Yeah.
also the winter. When I
Yeah.
lived in Chicago, I used to hibernate literally from the Tuesday before Thanksgiving until March. I could not go. I literally would hibernate. I was blessed enough to work from home, as you know, when we were life coaching together,
Yeah.
and I wouldn't come outside. And it was a time of um, it could have been depressing, except that I spent that time building businesses and just being creative. And so I think that there's an opportunity to get more acknowledgement and awareness about your experience. And I too would love to get your books for our upcoming event. And I'm just so thankful that you shared this and validated that. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Lynn.
Thank you for that and for sharing and supporting. And Dr. Lynn has been like, such a sister for so long. Sister friend, sister circle, sister, like she said, sister from another mother. So it's really interesting how God puts people in your life at various
Absolutely.
times. Like Dr. Vicky, pledged me at Howard forever ago.
Wow.
And but has been just an incredible mentor, friend, sister friend, all the things. And Dee and so many people on this call today, Deborah and so many more. So thank you for sharing that, Lynn, Dr. Lynn, and Philip for sharing your comments. We really appreciate it.
I
And
do want to
go ahead,
share
please.
one offering. This just always makes me feel great. Again, Dr. Lynn, same concept for me. I'm like, once daylight saving hits, it's like, if I don't have to be there, I'm not going to be there. But yesterday was the winter solstice. So one thing that we do know is we get an extra minute of daylight from now. Moving forward until the clocks spring forward, which will all spring forward at that time. So that just gives me so much hope to know that we are out of our darkest days and we are moving forward into a brighter days and a brighter season. This is really a time for us to say, okay, we went through the darkest moments and now we can look forward and we get blessed with one extra minute of light. And guess what? I will take it. I will take
Yes.
I will take a 5:01 sunset over a 5 p.m. sunset. So
Absolutely. I so agree. And I feel when the book title, Sun, Sand, and Self-Care, I think it was, that spoke to me just reading it earlier. And then I feel the exact same way as Lynn feels about the cold. I was traumatized growing up in Cleveland and hate it and hate every part of it. So,
yeah,
so it's a choice. And it's like, why can't I live somewhere else? That's a choice too.
you want to go there?
Yeah. Dee says, I hibernate like clockwork in the winter. I give into my inner bear. That's funny. And Lynn says, I'm going to use that extra minute. Awesome. This is so powerful. Um, we talked about vulnerability and, um, did you ever have any challenges with your son that you're willing to share? And if so, how did you work through them?
Absolutely. Well, I live in DC and the school system in DC is there are a lot of great things about DC.
Mm-hmm.
Education has not been one of the things that we can wave a flag of achievement and accomplishment, particularly around, I would say, the era from like 2007 when I kind of started looking at school. So I had to kind of make some decisions, and the decision that I made was to put my son in private school, which is a huge investment
Mm-hmm.
for a single, mom with Jamaican blood, which is what keeps me having these jobs. Like, the
Yeah.
running joke about Jamaicans got 10 jobs.
Yeah.
Like, I'm one of them. And I've,
Yeah.
Dr. Vicky, Dr. Lynn talked about life coaching. I've worked with Dr. Vicky in the media space. Like, I've always had a job. And once I started writing books, I always had a box of books in my trunk. that if at any point in time I could set up shop and turn my trunk into a pop-up shop. And so with my son going to private school, I realized that I was taking my financial stress out on him and not allowing him to make natural, normal academic, you know, not even call them mistakes, just have his own academic journey that was up and down in nature. So my son pretty much went from like the 7th grade to the 9th grade. He was in COVID during his in the 7th, 8th grade year. And so when he got to the 9th grade, now he's at this $20,000 school. He failed 9th grade and had to go to summer school. And so I not only had to pay for the school year, I had to pay for summer school on top of that. And that was very problematic for me, to the point that I was like, I was going to snatch him out of the school and he was going to have to find his way and fend for himself in the public school. And I sat him down and we had a conversation. And I said, if this is too challenging for you, why don't you want to just go to the public school? And he just, tears started coming down. He said, Mom, I wouldn't feel safe there.
Oh.
And that level of vulnerability from him really helped me see that my investment in the public school the private school went far beyond academics. And so I continue to foster that in him, particularly, you know, the men in his family have this concept of like, men don't cry, men don't emote, men don't talk, men don't share. And I'm really grateful that I have been able to cultivate, even if that's only how our relationships works, a space where he can share with me when he's scared, when he doesn't feel safe. And so that for me was one of the biggest things with my son. When I was, as a therapist, I do maintain a therapy practice. And I was talking to my therapist about some things. She was like, you got to remember your son is a good kid.
Yeah, and the fact that he want to talk to you is amazing.
Him getting a D, him failing algebra does not make him a bad kid. And so I had to take this pressure that I was putting on myself, I was putting it on him too. And I really had to look at myself and kind of readjust my style to know that I wasn't parenting the younger version of me. I'm not parenting my inner child. Well, I am, but in addition to doing that, I'm parenting this child.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's so good. What you have done with him, which is so beautiful, is create that space to have a relationship and conversation, which a lot of us didn't do, you know, with our children, especially when they were young.
Yeah, and it's a lot on a child going back and forth between two households, two parenting styles. It's like you got uniforms over here, you got it's just a lot. And I had to realize the impact that was having on him as well, trying to maintain a relationship with parents who are in two different households.
I love it. Thank you for sharing that. So as we get ready to close out our session today, if you could share one or two last great pieces of advice for working through this week, this holiday week.
Yes, I would say just give yourself a moment, an activity, a quick homework where you maybe just jot down 1 to 5 things that you're proud of yourself for that you did this year. And it doesn't have to be something that came with a plaque or, you know, this big recognition. It could be the fact that you said no to something. You know, I use the HBCU honors as a thing.
Yeah.
It's like, when I'm thinking about it, it's like, is that something to be proud of, that I declined an invitation? Absolutely, yes. Like that is something to be extremely proud of, because ultimately I chose myself. And so like Dr. Vicky, I don't know, y'all know that Dr. Vicky is like the photo bomber, right? The professional photo bomber. And
Yes.
she takes a lot of pictures, which
Yes,
I
she does.
pictures.
And videos.
Yeah, but those things actually become like a journal for me at the end of the year. So I can look back at my pictures to see what I've done, where I've been, what I accomplished, you know, what things I saw that resonated with me. So that is great to just kind of take some time to resettle. I didn't get into this really big, but one of the things that I do routinely for my self-care is having a cleaning practice for my home. When it gets busy and life is all over the place, then the laundry is piling up and all of these things are happening. And so in addition to gifting myself with a cleaning service once a month, in between those weeks, I find joy in cleaning my space because I know that that is cultivating an environment for me to really retreat, relax, and rest and reset. And so I look forward to that. And you know, everyone has different styles in terms like their cleaning and things of that nature, but just allowing some time to declutter, get rid of old things, receipts, papers, clean out purses and wallets. That's something that I like to spend some time doing at the end of the year. And I will offer that as well. And then the last thing I would say, outside of the reflection, is just really visualizing what you see for yourself in 2025. And that doesn't always look like an income goal or a property attainment, but ultimately, like, how do I want to feel as I walk through 2025? Like, what are the emotions that I want to resonate with? What do I want to experience internally and externally? Like, I want to feel joy and I want to feel heat. I want to feel sun. I want to laugh. I want to feel happiness. So those are some of the things that we miss in this goal setting. But I'm setting a goal to be happy, to experience joy, to laugh, and to be in community in beautiful spaces like the one I'm in right now.
That's the best. Yes, I'm going to claim the same thing. Sunshine, happiness, joy, peace, real simple. And we can choose how to create the life we want. We
Yeah.
have the power to do that every day. I love everything you're saying. It's so good. Joy and heat. Yes.
Joy and heat.
Joy and heat. It's so deep. I wrote this plan a couple years ago for my life, and it says, "Who is Kelli?" And it said, "Free to do what I want, when I want, and always in the sunshine." That's who I am. And I love what you just said. I see the sunshine and the happy face with the glasses from Philip as well. And I love how you ended on that note, Cherise. Do you
Can
want
I
to say something
say?
else,
Yeah,
please?
I just I flipped the book open. I just want to share, this is the last tip in the book, and so I think it's very appropriate. The last tip is most certainly not the least, and that tip is being gentle with yourself. Being gentle with yourself is by far one of the most loving things that you can do. This
Yeah.
is very personal for me because, unbeknownst to most, I spent many years mentally abusing myself, telling myself I wasn't good enough, downing myself for making mistakes or not hitting the mark. And that type of negative self-thinking and negative self-talk is a breeding ground for depression, anxiety, and low self-esteem. And so guess what happened? I felt depression, anxiety, and low self-esteem. But now that I know better, I do better. And I pray that you all will do the same thing. So don't be so hard on yourself. Don't be so critical on yourself. And know that you are a human being that in itself is more than amazing. Everything else that comes beyond that is a bonus. So give yourself grace, encourage yourself, be kind to yourself, love yourself. You only have one life to live, so you might as well be good to yourself while you live it. That's my philosophy. Think about that and think about how you can be gentler with yourself, your words, and your actions. You are worth it and you deserve it.
Wow. That's beautiful. And that's in the Sun
Yes.
book. I'm getting it today for my whole team. It's powerful and beautiful and
Thank you.
excellent, as Dr. Vicky says. Thank you so much, Cherise, for that. It gave me chills what you just read, and it's been such a delight and a pleasure and an honor to have you here this morning with us, and perfect for this week as we head into the holidays and this very sacred holiday. So thank you, thank you, thank you. And I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Vicky, who will close us out in a prayer this morning on our 250th. It's
Congratulations.
amazing. I just can't even believe it. It feels like yesterday, but here we are. And I appreciate all of you all being here. So Dr. Vicky.
Thank you, Kelly. Thank you, Cherise. So proud of you. Oh my goodness. Just so proud. Kelly, she is a sun goddess like you. And I tease Cherise all the time because during the summers, at any given moment, you can look on her social media and she's on some rooftop pool deck in DC. And I comment every time, oh, you left me again. So I am just witnessing and edifying that she lives what she teaches and practices what she preaches. And so proud of you. And thank you, God, for this beautiful day that you've given to us. Thank you for Cherise and the work that she is called to do and does with such passion. Thank you for Kelly and Dee and the SonRise Project and Dr. Lynn and episode number 250. We're grateful for grace to be consistent, to be committed. And God, we just thank you that this work will continue. Thank you for favor that surrounds us. Thank you for every person who is on this call today who was able to sit at the feet of the well of wisdom coming from Cherise about how to be kinder and more compassionate, and how to love ourselves, and how to be easy with ourselves, and how to be aware of how we feel. Thank you that our heartbeat is the beat. And so, Father, I pray now that each of us can tune into our bodies and be gentler with our bodies, be more loving with our bodies, take care of our bodies so that we can show up and be light in the world, first to ourselves and then to our children and our families and our extended families. We're grateful for this holiday season. Thank you that wherever we find ourselves, we know that all is well or it will be well. Thank you for every speaker who has been on this call. Now, as we go into the rest of this day and into the rest of this holiday season, when we come back together, we'll be on the other side of Christmas. And so thank you for the gift of you, for the gift of love, for the gift of community, and for the gift of the SonRise Project. We give you glory for all of these things. Bless us as we go until we meet again. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. Thank you again, Cherise. Congratulations on everything, even the things you forgot to mention.
Thank you.
Oh, love you, Kelly.
Love you too. Love you more. And thank you so much, Cherise.
Lynn, Tracy. Yep.
Love you,
all-
Vicky.
Love it, love it, love it. Thank you, everybody. We'll be back next week. Have a beautiful, beautiful holiday, beautiful Christmas with your families or with yourself. Whatever you choose. Enjoy it and enjoy that time with yourself first. And next Sunday, we have Tina Lifford joining us. People know her as Aunt Vi on Queen Sugar, and she will be here talking about the Inner Fitness Project. So come back and join us next Sunday at 9 a.m. Cherise, thank you, and have a beautiful, beautiful day.
You too. Thank you so much. It was a pleasure.
Thanks. Take care.